Hello, this is Somnia Stellarum, back for another episode of Stellarum KSP. This is our special edition. We've just completed our Eeloo Flyby. We've actually just left the Jewel encounter, so we are no longer under the influence of Jewel. We have gone past that. And I've gone ahead and set up a small maneuver just to, it's about 70 days away. So if I go back into map view here, you can see there is a maneuver about 70 days away, and our encounter still a good 400 days away. So we're going to set up a small maneuver here just to try to get this encounter to be a little bit closer. So right now we've got an encounter that is about 11,000 kilometers away. I'd like to get that under 500 so I can turn on my sensors, collect a little bit of science data, and beam as much of that back as possible. Technically, I might be able to even do a capture and orbit of the planet Eeloo, but to stay true to the New Horizons or the New Kerizons mission, I'm going to try to just do perform a flyby, and we'll try to get as much data as we can as we're flying by. So it's not going to be quite as much data as we could get, but it's not so bad. So let's bring up our maneuver here. It's a very tiny maneuver, and you'll see that it'll change quite a bit of the flyby. We're far enough away that will change very, very quickly. I can hit execute next node. It's going to automatically position me right to that maneuver node, and then I'm also going to get warped ahead. So we're going to see we're going to kind of fly right up to that warp. MechJub's going to perform all this flying maneuver, doing all the warping and slowing down and that sort of thing. So it's going to be a lot easier for us. We don't have to worry about controlling it that much. So the warping is the hardest part, is you end up missing the maneuver node. Although in this case I could probably just turn the engines on and kind of slowly adjust it to the right spot. Maybe throttle it back just a little bit. But you're going to see MechJub's going to turn on very shortly. Very, very soon. And it's just going to be a tiny, tiny burn. So we're going to go from 11,000, a periapsis of 11,000 kilometers. You can see we're already burning under 500, and we're under 200 kilometers from the surface. So that is perfect. I think that's going to be good. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So I think we can safely fast forward here so that we can go in. Let's see if we can't... Hold on, I'm just going to take a quick peek here. We're probably not going to be able to see Eeloo just yet. And you can see just moving the spacecraft is causing some variation. So we might want to do another maneuver node as we get closer, just to fine-tune this. Because if we end up smacking into the planet, it's probably not going to be good. So we can probably fast forward it till we're about, maybe 100 days or 50 days away. And we'll see if we can't do that. If I jump into the view here, and I go like so, I don't think I can see. This is the wide angle camera. This is the science camera. This is the one that would be able to see the planet. This is the best zoom camera that we have. We are going to unlock some other cameras very, very soon. So that's going to be improved upon very, very soon. But for now, we can't actually see Eeloo, which makes sense. It's kind of a small, very, very small, icy, rocky body so we won't be able to see it for quite some time. Kind of like the real mission, like the New Horizons mission. As it gets to Pluto, it's only been in the last few weeks that we've really gotten some good views of Pluto. The views over the next week as it approaches its closest approach are going to be the best yet. And then more, even better than that, is going to be when it's actually flying by it. It's going to be so close that you can see it. You can almost feel like you can just take a step down onto the surface of Pluto, which is fantastic to think about. So we'll see what Pluto looks like for real next week. But for this week, I'm going to try to show you what Eeloo looks like. So let's fast forward here. We want to get to about 100 days away. It's 320, actually maybe more like 50. So if we do 320, we want to get to about 200. We want to go about 270 days into the future. So you know what? We're going to be well into year 3. So let's just fast forward this. We'll be able to watch this go down. We can zoom in a little bit as well. So this was the long flyby, or the long wait between the duel encounter and the encounter with Eeloo. We're starting to get a little bit closer, so let's give it a few more days here. Coming up to 50. At 50, let's slow down, and we can see if we can see. Still have quite a bit of power here, so let's duck in here. Let's try our cameras again. So we're still pointed at our target, so Eeloo is right in our crosshairs there, and we still can't really see it. So it should be somewhere in this area here. We still can't see it. So this is the nav camera, and let's go back here. Okay. I just want to double check one thing. When we get over here, I want to see how much power we're generating. Sun exposure is 0.94, 0.94, 0.94, 0.94. It's actually not too bad. It's generating quite a bit of power considering how far out we are. You can see that sun is getting a lot smaller, but it's doing all right. So let's go back here. We can fast forward a little bit more. Just a little bit closer. Just a little bit closer now. Yes, that was me trying to sing. We might want to do a maneuver actually. Okay, so we're getting up to. We're only four days from the Eeloo encounter, and our periaps. Let's focus view here. Our periaps is only 80 kilometers. That might be a little bit close for comfort. So let's set up a maneuver. Where are we? Let's just see how this goes. Okay, so if we set a maneuver here, we accelerate just a little bit, we're giving ourselves just a touch more maneuver. And we don't need all that much, just a few meters a second. So you know what? Let's go prograde just a touch. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to thrust limit my... actually, we can do this even better. Okay, let's go to Smart ASS. Let's go prograde, lock on to prograde. I'm going to thrust limit this down to like 7 or 5.5. That's perfect. We still end up with a huge thrust to weight ratio right at this point, just because this engine's pretty powerful, and we've burned up almost all the fuel in this tank, and the rest of the fuel in this tank is relatively light comparatively compared to the how much this can push. So let's go back here. We'll prograde just a touch, and let's see if we can't get this up around the 200 mark. Is pretty good actually. Just like that. That is pretty damn good. Just over 200 kilometers. I think that's a good approach. So let's go back to our spaceship, our new Kerizons probe. We are only 4 days from the encounter. So let's fast forward a little bit. Okay, so now we're down to 3 hours. At this point, we might be able to see what we're looking at. So let's go to kill rot. So if we do that, and then we switch to first the wide angle, and then the science cam. Look at that. I think that is Eeloo. That is our first view of Eeloo. This one can just barely get that. And I think the wide angle, you can't really see it. But you can definitely see Eeloo in the science camera. As I said, it would be nice to have an even better zoom lens on this, but at the moment we launched, that's the best technology that we had. It was high tech. This is very common for spaceflight, actually. You have the highest tech type of equipment you have, whether it's a computer that can fit in a single room. That's what you had when you were able to launch this thing. But because it takes decades or longer to get places in space, then what you end up having is technology that you've researched past that's still flying missions. But your latest technology can, well, a computer can fit in somebody's pocket now. So that's pretty common. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we're still at 200 kilometers. Let's fast forward a little bit more. Pretty close. We're 3 hours from the encounter, so go a little bit faster. Even a bit faster than that. And we're just 4 minutes away now. Go back and see the science camera is getting pretty good views, I think. All the Kerbals back on Kerbin are very excited for this flyby. I can already hear them gathering in mission control and getting ready. So in just over 1 day, 1 day and 5 hours, or just under 2 days actually, we're going to be having our closest approach. I'm sure they're going to have some close approach parties ready for us. And just like the New Horizons parties, there's going to be some interesting celebrations around then. And that's just over a week, just about a week away now. So very exciting. Such exciting times. Very cool. So we're just 1 minute away, and then we're going to enter our final stage of the Eeloo Flyby. Slow down, and at this point we're going to enter into the gravity of Eeloo. The real gravity starts affecting us much earlier, but in the case of Kerbal Space Program, they separate into spheres of influence. So when we enter this, we're completely under the sphere of influence of Eeloo. That's all that it calculates. So you can see we can look and see what our trajectory is like. It's just a straight flyby, 200 kilometers away, and then an escape just 4 or 5 hours later. Let's go back into our science camera, take another look. Awesome. So now this is going to be displaying our height above Eeloo. We're currently sitting at 120,000 kilometers above the surface. And as we fast forward, we're going to be able to watch as Eeloo gets bigger and bigger. So this is eager anticipation. At this point in the New Horizons mission, we're actually starting to see the different moons of Pluto and seeing the barycenter where Pluto and its biggest moon Charon are rotating around it. It's actually a spot outside of Pluto's surface. So Pluto actually revolves around that spot while Charon is a little ways away and revolves around kind of the both of them. Very, very interesting. Another illustration of gravity's effects. Very cool. We're just above 80,000 kilometers away. Slowly getting closer. And for this maneuver, or for this flyby, we're not going to have to perform any kind of a maneuver. So I'm going to be able to turn on my instruments here. This multispectral scanner and the radar altimetry sensor. I'll turn them on as best I can. Let me just double check. Blocked by fuel tank. Okay. So let's rotate this just like that. Just to try to get as much light energy as possible. We're still 3 hours away. It's interesting, you can't actually see it in the... You can't actually see Eeloo yet in our regular view. With the science camera, you can see it. And we're actually getting pretty close. We're getting a bit closer here. So 64,000 kilometers. These are the first images back of the planet Eeloo. You can see it's slowly rotating. You can start to make out some surface features. That's kind of cool. Speed it up just a little bit. Now that is cool. Look at that. We can see it very, very clearly. And now it's starting to embiggen itself. So here's the science cam. Here's our nav cam. And then our wide angle view. Very, very cool. Just 23,000 kilometers now. It's a very fractured surface. We're under 10,000 kilometers now. I think this is the point where I might want to look at that gorgeous view. I think I might want to turn my sensors on at this point. So let's turn that altimeter and the multispectral scan. It's saying we're too high. That's all right. It is taking a bit of juice. You know what? We might want to hold off on this one. Because I think just the radar scan won't... Oh, let's stop it for now. Build up a little bit more juice. Wait a little bit longer. Does it tell you if it's... It doesn't tell you if the altitude is good or not. You have to have it starting. Much longer till periaps. Only 20 minutes away. So we're well within the day of the flyby. The Kerizons are all at their computer screens waiting for the approach here. A little bit farther. Get into the camera view. So that's actually the wide angle view. Look at that wide angle view. That's pretty cool. And then you go into the science view. You can actually get up close onto the surface and start to analyze, well, how did this crater form? What about these channels? So this is very similar to what's going to happen to the New Horizons mission. And we definitely want to get some data set up. We're probably going to want to have it active for sure by 500 kilometers. So let's fast forward a little bit faster. At 1,000 kilometers, I think is when I'm going to want to turn it on. At that point, I'm really going to want to have all my data going. So let's slow down pretty close to 1,000. That's pretty good. Back into our science here. Start multispectral scan. It's still saying too high. So you know what? Let's stop that until we're at 500. But the altimeter, I think, is going to work. No, it's still saying too high. You could see it's a very, very small. Kerbal would be, or Kerbin would be pretty big in the sky at this point. This planet is such a small little ball of ice. It's very much a planetoid or a dwarf planet or something. But still an interesting place to visit. So we're coming very, very close on our flyby. At this point, I don't think we need to... At this point, I don't think we need to switch into fast forward at all. So we're only a minute away from periaps. This is our wide angle view. Look at our science camera. Snapping some pictures here. Trying to understand what the difference in color means. Is that just the rocky versus the icy surface? Is there a subsurface ocean here? So we're taking some sample measurements of some spectroscopic measurements of the surface, trying to understand its composition. When did these craters form? It's a fairly new surface. There's not a lot of craters. Pretty cool. Let's go back into this view. Is our radar? Yeah, it's gathering data. Let's turn on the multispectral scanner. So now we're really going to start sucking juice here. So we got to be careful to keep our panels exposed to the sun. Get a view of the wide angle with the wide angle camera. And we're going into the night side. So this whole time we're gathering data, we're taking pictures, trying to understand the composition of Eeloo. Zoom right in on the terminus, see how the shadows behave. That canyon there is pretty deep, it seems. You can tell because of the shadows and how they fall there. Get an even better estimate. We know the general size of Eeloo, but now with this mission we're able to really identify how big it is. Pretty cool. So we've passed our closest approach. We've had the cheers because we're still communicating with the Kerbals back in Kerbin. Although they're probably a good 10 hours behind us. So what's happening now, they don't know what's happened yet. They're only going to find out when the data comes back to them and they see all these amazing pictures. So all this information that I'm gathering here, manually starting these sensors, so that's still going. It's still ideal, perfect. I wanted. That's still going as well. So we can look at our scan set. Okay, so now it's stopped. Oh no. Somebody took the data though. Alright, something's going weird with the data there, but we've completed our flyby. I'm going to try to search for it and find the data. And I hope you've enjoyed the flyby of Eeloo. We got some great pictures, some great data, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the real thing next week with the New Horizon mission. I hope you can all join me with that next week. It's a fantastic accomplishment by the folks at NASA, and I hope you all follow along and follow the amazing pictures that are going to be that are sure to come sometime next week. Okay, talk to you guys later.